oh yeah, that's what I was doing. Like there was purpose, there was meaning to this. Like I'm glad I lived life the way that I lived it. I think to some degree or other, we all want to live deeply. We all want to feel like our lives have meaning, that we're doing more than like running in a hamster wheel every day, and that when we come to the end of our lives, we want to be able to look back at them and say, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. Like there was purpose, there was meaning to this. I'm glad I lived life the way that I lived it. For myself, in looking at this question and kind of trying to find deeper meaning in my life, a theme that keeps coming up is the idea of authentic desire. Asking the question, how do you discover your true desires, right? So that I try every day to live my life from a place of my own authentic desires, like what do I truly want? It's made such a difference that I do feel now like I can't afford not to. It's kind of exciting. It's a really interesting way to like look at life and try to make decisions. And so I want to talk a little bit about what it is to try and understand authentic desire. So I think it makes sense that any life of real purpose or any life of real value is going to come about from someone making really valuable, really grounded decisions, right? So we want to make decisions that are based in something true. And I think we're familiar with this advice in the sense that we often hear of like follow your instincts, follow your heart, follow your dreams. These are things that people talk about a lot. And actually, in large part, I think they're on the right track, but those are all pretty vague and they have slightly different meanings. So we all have different types of desires. Obviously, we have like our basic human needs. We need to eat, we need to sleep. Most of us need to have a job or some means of making money. Relationships, we need people in our lives who care about us. These are all good, right? And then we have the desire, I think, to be good, to feel like we're serving a good purpose in the world. So most of us, if we have a job that makes us a lot of money, but doesn't have a lot of moral worth, like we'll feel a dissonance there. We'll feel like, well, I do desire a lot of money, but I also desire to be helping people, and my job isn't helping people, and so we'll kind of feel like a tugging there where our desires will be in conflict. So we have these many different types of desires. I believe that our deepest desires, right, which are probably to be loved, like we all desire very, very much. We desire to be loved. We desire to love other people. This is good. I think all people ultimately at the root of who they are have very good basic human desires, and that when people become very evil, like they do a ton of terrible things, it's mostly because they're completely out of tune with their truer desires and they've dedicated their lives to a shallower or almost a false desire that's leading them in a totally different direction. So the question is, how do we discern what desires are good to follow? Because we all have so many. Like if you're mad at someone, you probably desire to say terrible things to them. Should I fulfill that desire in the moment? Okay, maybe not. So how do we decide which desires to follow and where is that line? So most of my concept for like pursuing happiness, I tend to tie back to Aristotle's virtue theory. I have another video on that. If you are totally unfamiliar with it, or just go Google it. It's pretty easy to understand. But he has this theory about how if we find balance in different elements of our lives, that is where we find virtue. And when we pursue virtue, we become more fulfilled people overall. We're becoming the fullest version of who we can be, and so we will be much happier in that sense. So my notion of understanding desires is linked to that. So we want to ask ourselves, where is this desire coming from? Like, what is the root of it? Is it something leading me towards virtue and towards personal growth, or leading me towards like selfishness and leading me away from personal growth? Our true desires, like our really deep, authentic desires, will always make us more fully who we're called to be, and they're life-giving. So they will give life to other people. They will give life to us. And this can be from the very simple desires to the very big ones. So if I'm hungry and it's lunchtime and I desire to eat a sandwich, eating the sandwich is good. It's a simple thing. It's giving life to myself. Like I'm helping myself. I'm taking care of who I am. It's a healthy desire. Our desires get disordered. If you develop an eating disorder, then maybe you have a lot of fear about eating a sandwich for lunch. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be much harder and more complicated to understand what is that natural desire. Even though it was there, like that's what we probably grew up with. We naturally had the desire to eat when we were hungry. We do all kinds of things to like twist things around and complicate them. But if we could clear that away, your natural desire is going to be to take care of yourself, to do what's good for yourself. We have other desires that are very naturally to help take care of other people. If you have people you take care of, then when you go to work every day, maybe you don't desire to go to work, but you probably desire to help provide for the people who need your help. When you're going to work and you're making money, you're helping provide for yourself, other people who need it. That's good. Ta-da! Excellent. Good desires. Oftentimes we do some like overthinking and get weird about our desires when we think about like what are our dreams? Like what is it to follow your passion? There's so much different advice out there right now. My 2 questions that I like to ask myself that are very, very clarifying is to say, is this desire rooted in my ego? And is this desire based in fear? These are like the best questions because I think those are the 2 things that get us off course the most easily or like lead us to a shallower, less fulfilling desire. So for instance, maybe you have this strong desire to travel. You want to go see another country. That desire could come from different places for different people. So maybe you want to go experience another culture. Like you're fascinated, you're really curious, you want to grow as a person and you're like, I know if I go out and I see these people, they're going to challenge the way I think. I'm going to learn a lot. I will likely have these beautiful experiences for myself and for the people around me. Like that's very exciting. I have this very authentic desire. That sounds pretty genuine. It can be hard to tell if in the mix we also have the desire to like take a ton of pictures of this beautiful place and ourselves in a beautiful place so that we can share them online and have everybody see us and think that we're amazing. We need to spend time discerning, do I want to go for the authentic experience for like, do I have a deeper desire or is it my ego driving this desire? And then fear is a really big one too. Like, do I actually desire to be in a relationship with this person or do I have a fear of being alone? And so even though I don't necessarily love them or want to spend the rest of my life with them, I'm going to stay here because I am afraid to do anything else. Or is there something we really want to pursue, but we are afraid of being criticized? So fear and ego are usually the 2 that most get in the way. There are oftentimes things that we think would be amazing, like, oh, I really want to go for that promotion. Like, that's an amazing job. It would get me like a raise. I would really love to work with these people. But maybe at the root of that is that you want everyone else to see you get this promotion over them. Or maybe there's one specific person you really want to get this promotion so that they will see you getting the promotion instead of them. It can be a little tricky. And oftentimes we're really good at rationalizing. We're really good at kind of playing it off and tricking ourselves and saying, no, I want something good. Like that's why I'm doing this. I want a good thing. But actually like deep down, there's this little root, this little seed that's like, actually, I want to be the best. Like I'm going to win at this. And so we can dedicate like years of our lives to making these decisions that we tell ourselves are based in a really good desire, but they're actually not. Or like spending years of our lives not pursuing something because we tell ourselves, no, that's not really a good thing, but actually we're afraid. We're really making excuses because we don't want to do this good thing in case it goes badly and people see us fail at something new, right? Those are the questions to ask. And then obviously getting to the root of it can take some time. It can be a little bit tricky to say, what do you actually desire here? And I think it's worth noting that our true desires are usually a little bit scary. They'll pretty much always be pushing us towards growth in some way. That's part of how you know it's an authentic desire. And it's not to say we always have to be afraid of pursuing our true desires. Like I said, eating a sandwich, good desire, fulfill it. Easy, hopefully very easy. But usually if it's something new and something like deeply personal to us, there will be a little bit of fear there because our authentic desires also help reflect who we actually authentically are. That's how it works. So your authentic desires will make you into more of who you truly are. And so it can be really scary to pull those out because we don't want to be rejected there. It's like a personal space. We don't want anyone to like see it because then they could reject us. And that can be a little bit tough. So this sounds very confusing. It isn't actually, but we need to, like the only way is to develop a habit of listening and like spending some time deliberately discerning. A little bit every day is ideal, like just to build in the habit without putting a lot of pressure on ourselves. Like I need to figure out right now what all my true desires are. The goal is build in a little habit every day so that you're spending a little bit of time listening, a little bit of time reflecting, so that when big decisions naturally come along, like we usually don't have to panic and like go out of our way looking for them, like they will come to us with time. If we've been getting in touch and learning to be more aware of who we are and what we want, then we will be that much more equipped to respond well in that moment. So it's a slow process. I started at least 6 years ago now, the habit of doing some silent reflection every day for 10 minutes. And so for myself, this is prayer, right? And let me just say right now, if you're a Christian, like if you believe in God, pray. That's do some listening prayer. If you believe in God and you're not praying every day and you want to figure out how to like live life deeply or be in touch with your true desires, that's what you do. That's the thing. So I would sit for like 10 minutes at a time and do listening prayer. Journaling is really good too. Spend some time really reflecting on how your days are going, what your desires are, what direction your life is tracking in, and how you feel about that. That's useful too. But we really want to build in a habit every day so that we're developing a practice of listening and being more aware of ourselves as people. And actually that has benefits. That has benefits in general, like better sleep and things like that. But especially if you're trying to get in touch with your desires, you can't snap your fingers and totally understand everything. Like, we're kind of complex. It takes a little bit of time and patience, but it's beautiful. I mean, I started doing this 6 to 8 years ago, mostly out of a desire to find just a little bit more peace and a little bit more awareness in my days. And it's just been like branching from there. It's been making a really big difference in my life. And I think I know I do. I have another video on mindfulness, kind of how to different exercises for really practicing presence. So you can look at that as well if you want a couple other ideas. But that's what I would say. Try and find some way to start developing a sense of presence, to be okay with silence and not deliberately distracting ourselves. Many of us spend a ton of time deliberately distracting ourselves, and then we wonder why we're not living life the way we want. So that's yeah, we need to be listening and creating awareness and getting a little bit more in touch with our true desires, because they will help us absolutely like become the people we're designed, like meant to be, and live the life that will be the most fulfilling. And Socrates has the quote, or at least is reported to have the quote, that the unexamined life is not worth living. It sounds a little drastic, but now that I've really made the habit of examining my life, I see what he's talking about. It makes a huge difference. So that's what I had for you all today. There is a part 2 of this coming next week because it's a big old topic. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.